need to worry about juniors and seniors. All right, is this somewhat visible to everybody in the room? Everybody can kind of read it? All right, cool. So, since it's 10 after, oh, we saw some stragglers walking in. Hi, come on in. I will get started slowly to give people time to come in, and then we'll speed up. So the handouts that you guys have, some of them are just to help you, and some of them are a little bit to help me tell you about what classes I give. The one that I think is most useful to most parents who are here, I think the question most parents have who are walking in here is, well, my kid likes biology. How do I even start? What are all these different tests and contests and classes that are available? How do I help my kid be the awesomest kid they can be in biology? Is that most, hands up if this is kind of the question you want answered today, the feedback you're looking for. Okay. How many parents are actually here because, well, they don't even know if their kid likes biology yet. They want to find out how to introduce them to biology, see if they like it, what's a good path to take. Okay. How many here are parents of biology fanatics? Your kid's committed to biology. Okay. And everybody else here, I guess, is just learning, right? Okay. So let's get started with a question that a lot of my freshmen have for me, which is, why should I care about biology? If I was in China, I wouldn't have to take biology classes. It wouldn't be required. And the number one use for biology in my life has been when I go to the doctor. Helps me understand whatever it is the doctor is telling me is wrong with me, or is right with me, or how I can improve things. But more than that, biology is just cool, right? It's a study of all the gross, creepy, weird, gooey things our bodies do. You know, from farts to guts to worms to funguses. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion. Finally, I find that when it comes to adulthood, we get so many mixed messages. There is global warming, there isn't global warming. You should get vaccinated, you shouldn't get vaccinated. Having some basic scientific knowledge of biology can be really helpful when I'm then Googling things and trying to figure out what's trustworthy and what isn't. All right. So what we're going to go over today, well, we did that already, is I will first go over, given that you love bio, how can you get into the best colleges' biology programs? What are they looking for? Just to get you to check that off your list. I know for a lot of people around here, colleges are really important. The best colleges is really important. We'll go over that first. Then we'll go over each of the type of tests and each of the type of classes available, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to excel at all of them. All right. And that is all we need from this for right now. So, I love bio classes. I want to be a biologist. I want colleges to love me and give me all the scholarships. What should I do? We already know the more challenging classes, the better. Sometimes the most challenging class you can take in high school is AP Biology. After that, you're like, well, what do I do next? After that, you can take extra classes at local schools, at De Anza. You can take classes with us that will challenge you even further and expand your knowledge. But that is also what everybody else who wants to be an amazing biologist does. Everybody else is also taking classes. So how do you shine? Shadowing and internships. The number one thing I wish I had told myself when I was in high school was actually intern with a scientist, intern with a doctor, intern with a genetic counselor, tag around with some, it doesn't matter if all you're doing is fetching them coffee. You're getting to see what their life is like, you're getting to see what their work is like, and that helps you decide if that's really the career track you want to be on. Sure, being a doctor sounds awesome, but when you follow the doctor around for a day, you realize that you would probably hate it. Okay, maybe we need to think about a different career track, right? When you can apply to a summer program or college and say, I shadowed 5 different doctors, I interned with one, and then I did this summer research internship, and I know I'm really committed to biology, that's a lot more meaningful than I really liked my AP biology teacher, right? It's a different level of certainty that you can bring to your college application essays. Competitions are nice, but they're not necessary. MIT accepts plenty of people who didn't do a single Olympiad competition in their life. A lot of honors biology programs, if you do a competition and you do really, really well, they'll be impressed. But they won't necessarily judge you based on whether you did a competition or not. They're a lot more likely to judge you on whether you've done research, whether you've taken the most challenging classes, whether you've done shadowing and interning. Oh, thank you. And finally, if you're pretty sure you're going in the pre-med route, you want to be a doctor or a nurse or a physical therapist, then medical schools, which means colleges, are going to be looking at, do you like people and do you like helping people? That means volunteering. That means volunteering that you actually enjoy doing and feel passionate about and want to help more, right? And ideally volunteering at medical facilities, but any kind of volunteering will show that you actually care about people. And that is definitely important when applying to medical schools later on. Questions so far? Okay. Since I think everybody here, now might be a good time. My name, Latal Webster. My email, latal@webster.org. Email me anytime with any questions. Stop me in the middle of class at any time with any questions. It's pronounced Latal or Lital or however you want to pronounce it, I'll answer. All right. No one's going to ask me, how do I find a shadowing opportunity? How am I going to find an internship? Yes? Yes, you're curious? Yeah, don't be afraid. Raise your hand. Ask me questions. Okay. So here's how I have gone about it and how many of my students have gone about it. First step is to look at your parents and your parents' friends and say, do you know any physical therapists? Do you know any doctors? Do you know any biology scientists? Do you know any oncologists? Do you know any gynecologists? Whatever it is you want to be, ask your parents and your parents' friends if they know any. Get an introduction with an email address or a phone number. Send a friendly email saying, hey, I'm a high school student. I think what you do is so amazing. Would you mind if I tagged along for a day just to see what you do? That's how you get your very first shadowing. And maybe the first guy says no, but usually the first guy says yes. But if the first guy says no, that's okay. You email some other people. And then, because your student is such an awesome student, that day spent with that person will have them like your student and say, you know, if you're interested in learning more, talk to my friend here, talk to my friend there. So one connection leads to many other connections. The same way us adults get jobs, right? Same exact thing for shadowing and internships. Just email and ask. And don't be shy and don't be embarrassed. And if your student is shy and embarrassed, say, that's okay, email them anyway. Right? Because that's how we stop being shy and embarrassed. All right. Any other questions about impressing colleges, impressing biology programs? All right. Let's talk about the most common exam high schoolers take, the SAT 2 exam. Now, the first question is, do I have to? No, you don't have to. You totally don't have to. You totally don't have to take the SAT 2 exam, but you might want to just in case for the following reasons. Ivy League schools and challenging or competitive biology programs and even engineering programs, most of them require 2 to 3 SAT 2 tests taken. You might want to take the biology SAT 2 as one of those SAT 2 tests taken, if you're thinking Ivy League super competitive program. If you're not, then you don't need that SAT 2. Another reason a lot of people take the SAT-2 is, let's say their teacher was awful and they got a C in biology, but they really, really do know the subject. Taking the SAT-2 and acing it is a way of showing colleges, it was my teacher, not me. I'm actually smart, I actually know biology. If you're homeschooled, the SAT-2 is a great way of saying, see, my parents knew how to teach me, I'm really good at biology, right? I didn't just get an A for nothing, I actually know biology. Because when you come in as a homeschooled student, you really got to prove that your education was up to snuff, right? So having that SAT-2 really helps homeschool students prove their capability. Okay. Hypothetically, the first year of biology you take in high school, whether it's honors or regular, is supposed to prepare you for the SAT-2. Mostly it doesn't. I'm sorry. Most teachers are not pushing their students that fast or that hard, certainly not at a regular biology level, and often not even at an honors biology level. Most students are going to be using this book, right? It's the Prentice Hall Biology. I call it the dragonfly book. It's got a big dragonfly in front. In my opinion, it's not the best book. It's a summary. It doesn't explain anything in depth. The pictures are confusing. And you're expected to learn from it as a freshman. If you're wishing to get a deeper understanding of biology, I say straight up, buy the Campbell biology book. It's thick, it's got lots of words, it's got amazing pictures, it's got very clear explanations, and you don't need the 10th edition. The 10th edition costs like $150. Buy the 9th edition, which is $20 used on Amazon, right? So you have this $20 reference book that every time you read something here and you're confused, you can look in the glossary, find it in a better textbook, and get a more in-depth understanding. That's my top recommendation for people who are actually taking any biology class with the goal of understanding it. Get a good textbook. All right. Another pro tip, now's your chance. Research next year's biology teacher. Seriously, ask the other students. Like, in my experience, the honors biology teachers at Mountain View are not doing well by their students. Their students struggle, and barely even get a B, right? And that's not fair because those teachers are actually not teaching well, and they're not giving fair tests and so on, right? So that's why I tell my students, if you're Mountain View, take the regular biology. But you know your school district best. You have connections in your school district. Go ask older students, who's the tough teacher, who's the good teacher, who's the tough good teacher. That's the one you want. She'll challenge you, but she'll actually get you where you need to go, as opposed to the teacher who will just confuse you, right? Okay. Next pro tip, speak up in class. I don't care how terrible your teacher is. If you raise your hand and ask a question, the teacher has to try and answer it. Great questions to ask. Did I understand correctly that what you're saying is blah, 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 blah? It lets you rephrase what you just learned. Lets you make sure you understood it. And if the teacher hears that you didn't understand it, she'll explain it again, right? A lot of my students come to me and say, my teacher doesn't teach, my teacher can't teach, I'm so confused. But they didn't raise their hand in class. They raise their hand in class, it lets the teacher know she's confused. It gives you an opportunity to help your teacher improve. Teachers want to be good teachers. Okay. Other big, important, useful tip, throughout biology, doesn't matter what kind of biology you're taking, keep vocabulary lists. What do I mean by vocabulary lists? If I open any page of this textbook, well, especially at the end of the chapter, at the end of this chapter, it actually gives me a vocabulary list. If I open this is a version of the Campbell. It's the shorter, easier Campbell, the Campbell concepts, not the Campbell biology. But even in this textbook, and this is an old copy of the textbook, as I look through, there's words in bold. Those are my vocab words, right? So as you read any chapter, you keep a list of your vocab words, and you keep a list of definitions in your own words. Because that means you don't just read, you're not just highlighting, which in my opinion is the most meaningless way of reading there is. You are writing down, which means you have thought about the concept and put it into your own words, which means you'll remember it better. Right? In order to learn anything, you need to learn it 6 times. You read it, you write it, you hear the teacher say it, you take notes, you explain it to your little sister, you take the test. Hopefully by that point you've thought about it at least 6 times and you know it. Sometimes it takes more than that. Depends on you. Some people have better memories. You don't need to work on it as much. Doesn't matter. Point is, you got to repeat the concepts as many times as necessary. A lot of freshman biology students get A's on the homework, A's on the quizzes, C's on the tests because they didn't repeat the knowledge enough. They didn't take the vocabulary lists. They didn't sit down after every class and just write a quick little paragraph, like outlining what they learned. They copied the PowerPoint word for word, but they never bothered to reread their notes and summarize them and understand them. I'm a big fan of not copying the PowerPoint word for word. Write it in your own words. Understand it, then write it down. I'm also a big fan of explaining it to people. Find, someone who can't run away very fast, like your 6-year-old little brother or sister, maybe grandma, right? Get her in a corner and make sure she totally understands meiosis. Then totally explain to her mitosis. And when you can explain it to your grandma, now you know you can pass the test, right? Now you know that you know it. And now you won't forget it either. Because once you've explained it 5 times until grandma understands it, you understand it, you will never forget it. All right. So you work hard, you have an okay teacher, you learn a lot of biology, it's coming towards the end of the year, and you're thinking, should I take the SAT 2 exam? It's an maybe. First maybe, do I plan on taking AP Biology? If you plan on taking AP Biology, take the SAT 2 after you take AP Biology. It's easier. You will know more. If you don't plan on taking AP Biology, and you do want to take the SAT 2, then you want to take some practice exams, figure out where there's some gaps in your knowledge, read up on it, right? I'm a big fan of the Barron's review. Barron's test prep for the SAT 2 actually takes you through each subject you need to know. They don't explain it really well, but they give you enough words that you can then Google them and understand them, or ask your biology teacher about them and understand them. As far as I'm concerned, the Kaplan and the Princeton preps are too challenging, and the actual College Board has only published like 2 practice exams over the past 20 years. So their 2 exams are useful, but then you're going to have to resort to Barron's to kind of fill in your gaps. And then after that, if you still want to keep practicing, I say start practicing old AP Biology exams. Why? The old AP, before 2013, so 2013, before 2013, that particular AP set of exams was written by the same people who write the SAT 2, but it's more challenging than the SAT 2. So if you're practicing old, challenging AP exams, you're going to be over-prepared for the SAT 2. This is for people who are like really committed to that 800. Right? If you're committed to the 800, but you're not actually willing to take AP Biology, just take old AP exams, practice, understand, learn, and you will get very close to that 800. Who wants to see what an SAT 2 question looks like? Some people? Many people? Okay. So, there we go. Here's an example of a really, in my opinion, easy SAT 2 question. Nitrogenous bases that occur in RNA but not in DNA. I think I see one of my students here and they know the answer. Yeah, what do you think? C, uracil, right? This one, if you took biology, you learned this one. There's no way you took biology without learning this one. It's very obvious, very straightforward, and it's a memorization type question. You either know it or you don't. You memorized it or you didn't. Most of these SAT 2 questions are simple, straightforward. You memorized it or you didn't. But this one may be moderately a little harder. ATP is produced during which of the following processes? Photosynthesis, aerobic respiration, fermentation, all of the above. ATP is an energy-carrying molecule produced in all of those processes. But here's an example of something else they might give you. They might give you this graph. This is time. This is the number of bacteria. As we can see, there is an increase in that number, and then there's a decrease in that number. And they're asking you, in the graph, when is the number of living bacteria increasing at the greatest rate? Not the greatest number, but the greatest rate. Right? So most of us know that what we're looking at is the slope. And this is a flat slope, so it's a low rate. This is a pretty steep slope, so it's a sharp rate. Here the slope is flat again. And here the slope is a downward slope, so that's a decrease. So we would probably give them an answer that's somewhere around here, where you got a really steep upward slope, right? Okay, this is about as difficult as these questions get. You also get a few experiment type questions, but they're not too bad. They're definitely something a freshman would be able to answer with some thinking and some practice. We do an SAT prep class. We also do what we call a biology honors class. Biology honors is in the spring. It's going to be for middle schoolers who want an introduction to biology. It's going to be fun. We're going to dissect pigs. We're going to have like experiments with enzymes. There will be bubbles. There will be foam. It'll be great. There might also be radish seeds. You never know. We might get crazy. And then during the summer, we have another honors biology that's a bit more, ooh, you're going to be a 9th grader. Let's get you super ready. Let's teach you everything you'll be learning next year. Let's teach it to you once here, so when you go to your honors class, it'll be so much easier. And finally, we have an SAT 2 preparation class. We use the Barron's textbook. We also use information from the Campbell Biology. We do a lot of practice exams, and we go over everything you possibly need to know, as far as we know. Because remember, the College Board has only published 2 practice tests ever that we can use. So our knowledge of just what they can answer is what they can ask is pretty limited. I take the SAT 2 every year just to expand my knowledge and to tell you, oh, this year they had some of these questions. Let's make sure we got them. But biology is vast. If you work hard, I can pretty much guarantee you a 750 or a 760. But for that 800, it takes more than a freshman level of biology understanding. It takes a lot of extra practice, and that's okay. Anything in the mid-70s, high 70s is going to look great to colleges. You don't need to worry about that 800. Unless you're the kind of person who worries about 800s. I get it, some of you are. But anything above 750 is going to be really, really good. Questions about the SAT 2, biology honors, anything like that? Yes?
So biology honors, for someone who is just entering high school with no biology background.
That's why we have that class. It's for that student, someone with no biology background who wants to just understand it and get prepared.
And is spring the right time to take it, or is summer the right time?
In spring is very relaxed. In summer, we're pretty committed. So I'd say if you're trying to prepare for high school, summer is the best time to take it. Yeah.
Can you, for us who are parents with middle schoolers, can you outline the path in regular high school, like which year they learn which, and then how your class complements the...
Yes, so the handout that's like a table, that's the handout that goes through that in detail. But I have no problem going over it real quick here. So, in high school, school, in most high school, as a freshman, you either take regular or honor biology. And then as a sophomore, junior, or senior, you take AP biology. If you're going to take the SAT 2 exam, take it after AP. But if you're not going to take AP, which most students don't, most of them just take the SAT 2 at the end of freshman year after a year of regular or honors biology. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
So to take the SAT, so regularly in high school you have biology classes, and then maybe summer you sort of prepare.
Yeah.
Is it okay enough?
So if you want to get ready for these types of classes, I offer an honors class. If you want to get extra practice for the SAT, I offer a spring SAT 2 prep class that's just focused on that SAT 2. And if you just want to introduce yourself to biology, then I have the spring honors bio. So you will see in the advertising, the summer's honors bio is very clear that this is going to prepare you for 9th grade. The spring honors bio is more like introduce you to biology. It's a bit more fluffy. Not fluffy in the sense that we don't learn, but fluffy in the sense that I don't push the students. The students don't have to read 5 chapters a week. They're not memorizing things. They're just learning and enjoying the biology, getting introduced to it. So this is the one I think about, like the 6th, 7th, 8th grade students. This is for rising 9th graders. And then this is for 9th graders who've taken a year of biology and they're ready for that SAT test. Yeah?
What is the advantage of taking the SAT 2 right after you take the AP?
The advantage of taking it after the AP is you've had a 2nd year of biology. So most students who take it after the AP get 790, 800. Right? Students who take it after this year are going to score really high. Students who took it after this year are going to have a bigger challenge scoring that high because they only have 1 year. Yeah?
So someone who is going into high school,
Yeah?
take your summer class, that summer honors class, and they're learning whatever they're going to learn at that level, right? They're going to learn
Yeah.
in 9th grade. And then this is Monta Vista. Monta Vista has only one biology class, I believe, which is a regular biology class.
Uh-huh.
They don't have an honors class.
Okay.
And then in 10th grade, they don't have biology as an option. There is chemistry or physics. And then you have to take, the student has to take AP biology in 11th grade. By the time you already have 1 year of a gap. You already learned in the summer before 9th grade, and then you did regular biology in 9th grade, and then you had 1 year of break, and then you're taking AP biology. What is your recommendation for this part? And how?
Does the student love biology?
Don't know yet.
Okay. If this student loves biology, then that doesn't go away. They keep their hand in the game. Maybe they want to take USABO. We'll talk about that later. Maybe they don't. Maybe they actually want to self-study for AP biology as a sophomore and get that AP test out of the way. Maybe. We'll see what they like, what they don't like. But there are ways of keeping their hand into the game. Lots of ways. Maybe they just want to do some research and self-study. Whatever they want, yeah?
If a student, if a middle schooler who takes biology and AP biology, and then take the SAT, say that at the beginning of 9th grade or something, I don't know, and would he look weird when he takes AP again at high school? Because then he's, because he's already got SAT 2, for example, done, and then he's still taking AP biology.
It does not look weird.
Okay.
So your question is, if you took SAT 2, then you take AP and AP test, does that look weird to colleges or to anybody who's looking? Why are you taking 2 years of biology? No, it does not look weird. It looks like you love biology and that like you keep wanting to learn more. Because AP biology is definitely at a deeper level than SAT 2. So they know that you're intensifying your knowledge. It's the next level of biology. Since we're talking about levels, wait, was there another question here?
Yeah, I was wondering, my child took the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember.
Okay. And I was wondering if she's going to do it again in the summer, should she take the AP biology?
Your daughter should take the AP biology.
She should?
She'll have so much fun, yes. I think she can keep up. I think she'll have a blast. And since there's like no grade at the end, it won't be too much pressure on her if some things are a
So
little
not
too
the
fast.
honor biology, the AP one, right?
Your daughter should take AP, yes.
The AP courses will include the SAT2 testing.
Ask again, sorry.
I said the AP, if the kids took the AP,
Yeah.
they go to SAT testing, do he or she need to prepare?
A little bit, not as much. So if you're here at this level, you need to prepare a lot. If you're at this level, you probably don't need to prepare very much. If you're at this level, I say you need to review some physiology and take some practice tests. If I have a student who comes to me, I'm a great AP student, do I need a class? I say, did you take a practice test? What score did you get? Where are your weak areas? Let's just brush up your weak areas and that's it. Yeah, with this level, you don't need a whole SAT2 preparation course. Okay, question?
So if the student is a freshman,
Yeah.
who is taking the regular bio,
Yes?
so now they already over the half, right? Because they're supposed to be done by June, right?
Yeah.
So but student is currently struggling, would like to take some additional like tutoring, then which class is the right class in the summer?
Okay, if a student right now is struggling and you said they're in AP,
No, just regular.
They're in regular.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like right now is struggling, like she wants to get A, but she's like between A and B.
then she probably wants private lessons. Because here's the thing, if the goal is just to improve in the class she's taking, then she needs whoever her teacher is to match up her schedule with the teacher's schedule. My classes do not match the school schedule. My classes match my schedule, the schedule I think is best for the students to learn. And usually our schedule is much faster than the school schedule because, they have 5 days of school. We have like 2 hours every week. So we have to go at a different pace. So yeah, I think for someone like that, straight up private lessons, or even if she can, does she talk to her teacher a lot?
I don't know.
Okay, she needs to talk to her teacher. Come talk to the teacher before school, during tutorial, during study hall, whatever she has. She needs to be talking to the teacher and getting better at biology. Okay, yeah?
2 questions.
Yeah.
One is how critical is SAT2 or AP test? Because college admission, they can just the student get some grades when they take the biology.
Is your student committed to very challenging schools or very challenging programs?
Meaning,
Is your student going to want to get into Stanford, Yale, MIT, Caltech?
yeah.
Yes. Then having AP tests is critical, and having at least 2 or 3 SAT2 exams with high scores is critical. So if the student's goal is the highest levels, the more APs, the better. But if your kid hates AP biology, don't make them take AP biology. They can take AP something else. But they have to show, that they have a high academic standard and a love of learning. They got to show they're total nerds if they want to get into MIT, right? And the way they show that, they take the most challenging classes.
But can they prove that by taking more AP classes and earn good grades
Yes.
instead of taking those standardized tests?
Well, again, it depends on the college, but if you look at the requirements of certain colleges like Caltech, you will see that part of the requirement is 3 SAT2 exams. They don't have to be biology SAT2, they can be other SAT2 exams, but they really recommend that one of them is like the math SAT2 exam. So you look at the requirements, you'll see they want SAT2 exams. I'm sorry, I didn't make those rules. Yeah?
Sorry, so when you say 3 SAT exams of 3 different subjects or 3 different fields?
3 different subjects.
Okay.
So you can
Math,
take...
SAT, AP, biology, SAT.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, guys, let's be strategic here. You don't have to take 3 SAT2 exams on the same day. That's just overwhelming for the student. They aren't going to score as well. Take 1 SAT2 exam at a time. They give them like every month. So just take one month, a different one a different month. Okay, don't overwhelm your kids. I had a question over here. Yes, no?
Another question.
Yeah?
So I heard that in a public high school, you can only take one science class per year. So
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, yeah.
yeah, so if you take biology in the 9th grade, and then the 10th grade you take, say, chemistry, and then the 11th grade you take physics, so you don't have time to take AP biology.
For some students, yeah, but let's say your student loves biology. If your student loves biology, they can self-study for the exam. They could talk to their counselor and get an exception so that they can take 2 sciences in a year. So be proactive and insist that your student wants 2 biology classes or whatever. But yeah, I understand you do what's right for your student, right? You do what he or she loves to learn. That's the way to go. Yeah, if they love chemistry and they hate biology, please don't make them take AP biology. Okay? Other questions? Yes?
Just following this gentleman's first question. So you said 2 to 3 SAT 2 would be good. And
Yeah.
how many AP classes?
Okay, that's a very flexible number there. You wanna look at what other students do, what your kid is actually capable of doing without burning out, right? Burning out is a big thing. I've done it to myself as being, a very aggressive student and just being dead at the end of the semester and not doing so well at that time. So that depends on what your student loves, what your student wants to do. Back in my day, 15 years ago in Illinois, 8 APs was considered really impressive. But I've helped students get into Yale with like 12 or 15 APs, right? So I'm not saying you need 15 APs. I'm just saying take as many as you think you can handle, given your school system. Challenge yourself without killing yourself. That's the goal. Challenge and learning and growth without being overwhelmed. There was a question?
Yeah, that's a general question. For SAT 2, how many times can students take? For
As many times as they like.
Can they choose cancel the previous score if they are not happy?
I'm not sure. Check with the website. But I've had students who took and they got like a 760 and they really wanted an 800, so they took it again and they got a 780. And, they're like, I'm going to stick with a 780. It's okay. Right? But yeah, I don't take it if you think you're going to do horribly. Or if you do horribly, don't share the score. You don't have to share the score. Question?
Is it important to take all the APs before 12th grade, before your application is in, or?
No, most students take students who challenge themselves often are taking 4 APs as a senior, and the college can see that they are taking those 4 APs. And they can see how well they did in previous APs, so they kind of predict how well the student will probably do this year as well.
When they take AP class, they always take the AP test, or?
No, the AP test is not required. If you think you're going to do badly on the AP test, don't take it. The AP test is really expensive. Back when I took it, it was $450 back in Illinois. That was 15 years ago. I bet you it's more expensive now. You guys can tell me. It's a very expensive test to take. So you only want to take it if you think you're ready. Why is it so expensive? Students only take it once, and it counts for most colleges as a college credit. It saves you a whole semester in college. I didn't, but I could have graduated a year early from college. That's a year of tuition, which is a lot of money. So for most students, it's worth it. Okay? Other questions? Yeah.
I wonder if for AP just mentioned about you don't really need to report it if it's not good scores.
Yeah, you don't have to share if it's not a good score.
SAT stuff?
The SAT 2, you don't have to share if it's a bad score, but you do need to share either SAT 1 or ACT, right? If you want to get into a college, you need either SAT 1 or ACT. Yes. And even with those, sometimes it's possible just to share the highest ones. Or the colleges will look at them, but they'll only look at your highest one, for example. All right? I think the wave of questions has passed. All right, now we're going to talk about AP for a second. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. AP. Why do we take AP? Because we love biology. If you don't like biology, don't take AP biology. Go take something else. I'm going to talk real quick. There's AP Bio and AP Environmental. AP Environmental is considered the less challenging course. Still might be worth doing it. If you're scared of AP Bio, take AP Environmental, ease yourself into it. But if your student is like Caltech or bust, or Stanford or bust, don't even bother with environmental, just take AP Bio. Everything in AP Environmental is covered in AP Bio anyway. Most high schools do offer AP Biology. Not all high school AP Biology teachers are good. You want to really do your research here. If your AP Bio teacher is going to make you miserable and give you a low grade and not prepare you for the AP exam, it's probably not the AP Biology class you want to take. You probably want to self-study or study through us or some other route. Some teachers are amazing. But the thing is, they changed in 2013, they changed the bio exam. They updated it. They made it much more difficult and very different, right? Can everyone still hear me with all of that? Okay. I'm sorry, I can't hear myself.
Focusing on your words.
Thank you.
Much more.
Teacher voice, that's called teacher voice.
Ah, thank you, yes. Okay, so they changed the exam in 2013. They made it a lot harder, but a lot of teachers some teachers haven't been clued into this change. A lot of teachers come to teach AP Biology and they've never taught it before and they don't do the research as to what it takes. So that's why I say research your teacher. See what her success rate are. The national success rate is around 5% of students get a 5. That's the highest score. So if you want a 5, which is a great score to get, and you want to check out your teacher's rate. Is your teacher's rate higher than the national average? That's a good teacher, right? That's the teacher you want. All right. Yes. Okay, who wants to see AP Biology exam questions? What do they look like? Yeah, some people. Oh, a lot of people. Good. Let's turn this back on. Okay, some of those questions are going to be straight up memorization questions. So this question is asking, when DNA replicates, which of these look like what it looks like when it's replicating? If you read the chapter on DNA replication, and you remember the replication fork, and you remember that DNA polymerase adds to the 3' end, let's see, it would be like this. It would have to be like that. But that's a pure memorization question. I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm not going to explain the answer to you because that will take me half an hour. Okay, so we're just going to assume that I'm right and the answer is D, okay? Here's another example. Can you guys read this? Yeah, okay. So they're asking, which supports the claim that different species of organisms use different metabolic strategies to meet energy requirements? So, some things I'm noticing. There's some big vocabulary here. There's no memorization involved. It's purely logic, thinking, and reading comprehension at this point, right? Okay, I'm going to give you guys like a minute to try and answer. Okay, who thinks they know the answer? What do you think it is?
A.
All right, good guess. Why did you say A?
Because it says how it changes its needs for what it needs to live.
All right. Yeah, so it's using metabolic strategies to meet energy requirements. So what's metabolism? Metabolism is the reactions your cells are doing, right? So different metabolism would have to be different reactions, right?
So D.
D. D. But A is a really good guess, and you were super brave to raise your hand, so thank you. So, the number of unsaturated fatty acids in the cell membrane isn't going to meet the energy requirement of the animal. It's just going to help it like not freeze in the cold. It's going to help keep the cell membrane from freezing in the cold. So this is what's actually meeting their energy requirement. They're going to use glycogen or fat or starch for energy. All right? Okay, a last one, a real classic. The question here is, you have an experiment, right? This is a little plant, and the plant grows towards the light. But if you cut the tip, the plant won't grow towards the light. If you cover the tip, the plant won't grow towards the light. If you separate the tip with something really hard, it won't grow towards light. But if you separate it with something porous, like kind of gelatinous, it still will. So what's that kind of telling you? And then I think what it's telling you is the tip's really important, right? Right? You guys probably agree with that. And the tip's necessary for growing towards the light. So then the questions, and this is the kind of question you would do on the FRQ portion, the free response questions portion. So that's the bit where you have like 90 minutes to answer 8 questions. All of them look like this. And in my experience, if you want a 5, you probably want to get close to 100% here. This is where it's really, you need to get every point you can. So, give support for the claim that the cells located at the tip detect the light by comparing the results from group 1 with the results for group 2 and group 3. So they're literally asking you in your answer to discuss these 3 results and be able to explain how they support a claim. That's like logic, right? You didn't need to memorize biology to answer this question, but you did need to practice to be able to do it quickly on a test. And then in the next one, in treatment groups 4 and 5, the plants are removed and placed back. They're explaining to you it's permeable or impermeable membrane. Describe 2 additional characteristics of the phototropic response. Beyond the fact that you need the tip, what are 2 other characteristics you can come up with based on these 2 experiments? All right? Some of you are thinking. All of you are understanding the kind of questions they're going to ask you. Yeah? The thing about AP biology is it isn't just about memorizing. It's about thinking and explaining, which is what makes it challenging. Any questions so far? All right. And that was the distribution in 2014. About 6% of test takers got a 5. From here on down, a 2 or a 1. So that's about 35% of test takers fail. This is a passing, this is good, and this is awesome. This is what you want for Ivy Leagues, right? This would be okay pretty much anywhere else. This is like a good job. This is nothing to be embarrassed about, but depends on what your goals are, whether it's going to help you or not. Yeah.
What is like for the distribution? If this like the score is based on the only this 0.5%, or the scores is based on absolutely correct?
Yeah. So every year it's a little bit different, but the approximate distribution is about the same, and they will literally make a normal curve. They will figure out what the average score is, and based on that average score, these are 1s, these are 2s, these are 3s, these are 4s, and these are 5s.
So it's not like correctness, like how many...
It isn't how many you got correct, it's how many you got correct based on everybody else. Yeah, so they're grading on a curve, they're comparing you to all the other test takers. Yeah.
So if this means like if I have more people, yes, they actually have.
Yeah. up. More people pass. So about the same number pass every year because they grade it on a curve. So the number shouldn't increase or decrease by very much every year. Does that help? Okay. Other questions? Yes.
How do you check which teacher has more students or in class?
You ask.
Ask the teacher.
Ask the teacher, how many students got a 5 last year? How many students got a 4 last year? You ask the other students who have taken AP Biology already. Do students do okay in this class? You know, because students talk to each other. Does it feel like the teacher really prepared you for the test? And so on. My high school teacher was amazing. Oh, I was so ready. I had the book memorized. I got a 5. I was super proud. I loved my teacher. But a lot of teachers aren't, so you got to do the research ahead of time. Yeah. Yeah?
So does it look weird if the student takes AP test first, then take AP class later?
Yeah, that does look weird. But you do have a section on applications where you can explain why. So why would they take the AP test first?
My daughter is with your class right now.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But now she's taking an honor AP in school.
Yeah.
But the school, the second year sophomore, they don't offer AP class. So she has to wait until junior year to take AP class.
Mm-hmm.
So if she decides to take AP test in the second year, then that will be before the school class.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, why not take the AP Biology and then instead of taking AP Biology in school, take AP Chemistry or AP Psychology. Okay. That's awesome. Well, you can explain. You can explain if you want. It's unusual, but if you can explain it, it makes sense, right?
But I heard that if you take AP test and you get a good score, shouldn't that be counted as a credit and you don't have to take the class?
Yes, that's how you can skip some years of college by taking a lot of APs. Yeah.
So in that case, the student doesn't need to take AP biology.
No.
Unless it's
No. Yeah, I can take a different AP class. All right. What else did I want to tell you about AP Biology? Oh, getting good at AP Biology. So here's your tips. You want your vocabulary list. You want it ongoing and growing. If your teacher doesn't give you review sheets or reading guides, first off, you can purchase reading guides for the Campbell from like the company. Those are actually really good. But next off, make your own review sheet as you are reading the text. So as you're reading the text, start writing the questions that you think you should review for the test. And then write the answer, and then review that, right? Make an appendix of hand-drawn pictures of the things you should know. You need to memorize the shape of the ear, draw the ear, label the ear, love the ear, hide the ear, and draw it all again and see if you can do it all from memory. Then do it again. You need to memorize the Krebs cycle. Oh my gosh, that's a hard thing to memorize. Draw it again, draw it again. I guarantee there's no way you can draw it 3 times without having it completely memorized. You will have it memorized by the 3rd time. Okay, maybe the 4th time. Everybody's memory is different. Okay. The Campbell book has the best practice questions anywhere. The end of the Campbell book chapter, do every single question, even if you don't have to for homework. That's how you're going to prepare for the AP. Why can't you just use Kaplan, Pearson, Barron's? They're useless. They are completely useless. Don't waste your money on them. They are still preparing you for the old AP. They're not preparing you for the new AP exam. I checked. They're useless. Their essay questions are pretty useless too, yeah?
The Campbell book, do you have to get a new one or is the older version?
Older version's good. Yeah, cheap one. Cheap one. 2009 is my favorite. Yeah, because it's about $20. Yeah? Most honors use this one. Some honors use this one. I call this one the skinny Campbell. It's Campbell Concepts and Connections. So some honors use this one, but I think this one is not good enough for AP. I think Campbell Biology is the one you want for AP.
Someone entering the high school taking regular biology, do you still recommend getting the Campbell book and study from that instead of?
Yeah, I'd say buy the thick Campbell. You will need it for AP, and it will be a great reference book for lower levels. Right? So no matter what your level, the big, thick Campbell AP is the one where you can look it up and get extra info. So Campbell Biology. Love Campbell Biology. It's my go-to. Yeah.
So how many weeks is the summer class?
It's 15 lessons over 2 months and a little bit. And we meet twice a week. And it's 2.5 hours each meeting. And it's definitely a class where I expect students to do, I'd say, 2 to 4 hours of homework per class. So think about it like it's a complete summer course. You could take this course and be completely ready for the AP exam if you wanted to. Now, if you take it and you're like, I don't feel like working that hard, you just show up in class without having done the reading, you will still learn something, right? If you just show up in class, you will still learn something. But the more homework you do, the more you will get from the class and the more prepared you will be. Yeah?
So for someone who cannot take the class in summer, because they're not available for the entire duration of summer, do you recommend taking the spring class or do you recommend taking the class next year?
Okay, so spring class is just test prep. So, okay. So let's say this is the school year, you're taking AP Bio in the school year. At the end of the school year, I have a spring AP class. That's just for test prep. It's for someone who's already done it. Over the summer, I have an AP Bio that's going to teach you everything you need. It's an intense class. It doesn't have to be intense. You can be all relaxed about it. You don't have to you can stroll in not having done the homework. I won't yell at you. But you're not going to get the most out of it unless you do the homework, right? And then I also do a fall class. The fall class also works out over 15 weeks. It's going to be 15 classes, and it'll take you through everything. This is great for self-studiers. This is great for self-studiers. This is also great for people who just want to have some background so that their AP biology won't be that hard.
So do you have a similar one for honors biology for summer and the fall?
Yeah. So the thing is, no, I don't do honors biology in the fall. I just do honors bio in the summer. Both of the summer ones are divided into modules, into 2-week modules. It's in the handout that talks about the summer ones. The reason they're divided into modules is because students go on vacations and stuff. So the idea is they're in 2-week chunks so that each 2-week chunk can stand on its own, and you can come away from going, hey, I know all about photosynthesis. I'm ready for the photosynthesis unit, right? Or, hey, I know all about genes. I'm ready for anything genetic. So no matter what, even if you can't be there the whole summer, you can walk away having chunks of knowledge. Yeah?
I just wonder, if you already took AP Bio in summer, so what's the point of taking AP Bio in summer?
A lot of students who take this in summer take it because they think this will be really hard. And they're scared. So they want to be ready ahead of time in the summer where they're relaxed, so they can start ahead of time. So in the school year when it's hard, it'll be faster and easier.
So AP Bio in summer will cover all the content just
All the
in 2
content.
months. So it is also going to be quite scary.
Well, based on my experience with my students, they're not super scared because, right, they don't have tests or quizzes in my class. They're just learning to learn. So they have homework, they have worksheets, but it's optional. So they're not overwhelmed, they're just getting what they can get. And I've had some students do this and say, I know AP Bio, I'm ready for USABO. And then they take USABO right? So depends on the student. I've never seen a student say, I've never seen any student say, I learned it once, I never have to learn it again. This isn't addition or subtraction. This is biology, reviewing is good. So a lot of students who take this take it because they want help for this. A lot of students who take this take it because they want better understanding for class, for school.
Yeah, another question, if you take the AP bio together with school AP, so does this, you also have lots of homework?
Yeah.
It's going to be like, kind of like.
But if you do it for me, it means you won't have to do it for school. Right? If you read the chapter for me, it means when it comes to reading it for school, you're like, I already read it, let me just check my notes, okay, I'm ready. Right? So you're not really going to have to do the work twice, unless you forgot it the first time, in which I'm so glad you're doing it twice. It'll be a reminder. Yeah? Question? Stretching. Okay. Anything else? All right. Oh my goodness. So we got 20 minutes left. I want to talk to you about USABO. Who wants to hear about USABO? Some people. Good. And then I will stay after for longer if anybody has any more questions, okay? Okay. So I keep saying USABO, USABO. What is USABO? USABO is for the biology fanatic, for the biology lover. For one who genuinely gets really excited about guts and eyes and the gooey stuff inside eyes, or, you know, how the molecules work together to make it so you can breathe, right? I think it's amazing. I think it's fascinating. I want to know all about it. I'm willing to memorize my entire Campbell biology book. That kind of student. Okay, so this is for an ambitious, usually competitive, usually biology-loving student, of which I have some 6th and 7th graders who've taken that class because they love biology and have done really well. And I have some high school seniors who take that class and do really well, and I have some, it's all about motivation and love. If you don't love it, please don't take the class. I don't want to force you to learn something you don't want to learn. That's not my job, right? So, what do the questions look like? This is a competition where there's like a regional, then there's like a semifinal, then there's a finalist, and then there's like an international kind of level where you're competing with people from different countries. It's really cool. It's really fun. If you do make it to finalist, it is a pretty impressive thing to put on your resume. Okay? At least when you're applying to colleges. What does the exam cover? The entire Campbell book is fair game. Things outside the Campbell book is fair game. Stuff that you've never heard of before is fair game. It's challenging for people who are PhDs. Honestly, it would be challenging for a PhD in biology to complete the exam. It is distributed over physiology, cell biology, genetics, evolution, plant anatomy, physiology, ecology, ethology, which is another way of saying behavior, and biosystematics. That's another way of saying what's related to what, right? Is a worm more closely related to a human, or is a monkey more closely related to a human? I know that was a really easy question, but they ask harder ones. All right. So here's an example of something that you guys should look at it and say, what? I hope. Maybe some of you are scientists. Okay. Which of these techniques can analyze the molecular weight of a compound? And I'll just tell you the answer. Electrophoresis and size exclusion gel chromatography. All the other ones, isoelectric focusing, ion exchange chromatography, and affinity chromatography, are going to tell you more about the charge than they are going to tell you about the size. Okay, we do talk about that in class. So in the USABO class, we don't just go over the big book. We also try to go beyond. We try to talk about like advanced lab techniques. We try to talk about just anything the students are interested in. We try to push our boundaries, right? We try to go well into college level biology and a little bit of college level biochemistry. All right, here's another example. There's some vampire bats. Hey, who knew vampire bats existed? Vampire bats are the coolest. Okay, there's vampire bats. When they can't find any food, their friends vomit up a little bit in their mouth and share. Okay? me prove that this is an example of reciprocal altruism. The kind of altruism where I give you my taco and you give me half your hamburger. The kind of, I hold the door this time, you hold the door next time. That kind of helpfulness. How can we prove that that is what is happening? And it turns out that if we can show that the blood is exchanged between non-related bats, and that bats who were given blood will later donate it to those who have given it to them, tit for tat, right? If we can prove those two things, then we can show, right, that the answer is D. Then we can show it's an example of reciprocal altruism. So let's example one of, in my opinion, the easier questions on the test. All you had to know was what reciprocal altruism was and then use some logic. Hi. No worries. Okay. Another example of stuff that gives you an example of the kind of memorizing you might have to do. The question is asking, which of these, okay, so we have like angiosperms, gymnosperms, ferns, mosses, other plant types, and you can see they've already drawn the relationship between all of them here, the kind of family tree. And they're asking you, which ones of these have trait 1 and trait 4? Right? Trait 1 is pollen, and trait 4 is seed. So pollen is basically floating plant sperm. The seed is the plant embryo encased in a little shell. And guess what? Mosses don't have pollen. Ferns don't have pollen. But Christmas trees and flowers have pollen. They also have seeds. So right here, D, is where these two characteristics are introduced. Make sense? Okay. I know, I just went over it quickly, but I was giving it to you to give you examples of what this looks like. Right? So, give you a little bit of the score distribution. Right? It's a 50-question test. Usually, if you score higher than about 23 points, you're considered a semifinalist. Most of our students make it to semifinals. And last year we had 2 students make it. Wait, no. Right. Our students do pretty well. Most of our students score very well because we prepare like crazy. Okay? We can, so this is, if you're interested in USABO, I don't care what biology experience you have. I have students coming with 0 biology experience, but a love and enthusiasm. So, we have summer USABO. Summer USABO goes slowly. Gives you time to really read your book. Gives you time to really memorize things and ask questions. Then we get into fall USABO. Fall USABO starts from the very beginning. We go 5 chapters a week. That means you have to read 5 chapters a week. That's several hundred pages a week. It's hard work, but if you started in the summer, you've gotten ahead of the game. And you don't have to. I don't make anybody do anything. But we're going to discuss them in class, and it'll be easier if you read. Yeah?
Do you have to take AP biology, or you can just show up? No.
Yeah, you can just show up. For this, you can just show up. All I need is for you to love biology. If you don't love biology, you'll be so miserable. Okay. No, seriously, like, I would never take calculus Olympiad, right? For me, calculus is boring. But biology, I could do that all year long. So it just depends on what you love. Okay, then some students like to take a cram course in December. So that's like a 1 week or a 2 week cram course taught by a teacher other than me. So that if I have some blind spots in what I taught you, you're getting them filled in by somebody else. Then in January, I do the prep course. Prep means we're taking a practice exam every week. We're going over any questions that were confusing. We are learning the most challenging concepts I can think of. We are taking semifinals practice exams as well, so we can be over-prepared. We just finished this course. It was so much fun. I think the students really enjoyed themselves. I think our class is really prepared. We'll see. The tests are going on this week and next week. So that is our USABO thing. And if you already have AP Biology and you want something else to do to keep challenging yourself, this is a great thing to go for. Right? If you've already taken AP Biology, maybe you don't want to do this, and you don't want to do this. You just want to do this and this to kind of remind yourself of stuff. But I tell you, these students have the book memorized, truly and deeply and profoundly memorized. And some of them know it better than I do. So, yes. Questions about USABO?
How do you call it compare with AP?
Way harder.
Textbook is the
Same textbook, way deeper level of understanding. For AP Biology, I can go through and say, don't read this, don't read this, don't read this, focus on this. Don't memorize that, just memorize this. For USABO, I say memorize everything and focus on this. So it's a really thick book, and a lot of the students have it really, really thick. AP is way easier. AP is like understand the big picture.
finish this AP exam will not fail.
No. You should still practice. Just like if you finish the AP, you should still practice for SAT 2. If you finish USABO, you should still practice for AP. But you can probably practice on your own a couple times and be ready.
Does it make sense to take AP Biology and USABO in the summer together?
I wouldn't, unless you really love biology and love repeating it a lot. I would take either USABO or the AP.
Okay.
USABO goes at a slower pace. We only meet once a week.
So you could take AP Biology in the summer and then fall take USABO?
Yes, that would work fine. Remind me, is your daughter going to be a 9th grader? Okay, so depending on her workload during freshman year, she might be a little overwhelmed, okay? All right, let's talk about it. Other questions? All right. And so the one extra thing for people who are preparing for USABO, sure, read the book, do all the practice questions, do all the practice tests, review all the questions you don't understand. Last thing I want to show you guys. For kids who are really serious about perfect scores, and I don't care what test this is, I tell you the same thing for the ACT, the SAT, AP medical school exams. So you have a question, you have some options. In your answer, you should either circle it because you don't know the answer, or give it something like this. You think you know the answer, but you're only 90% sure. And then later you go through and you see correct, incorrect, right? Correct. But you circled it, so you have to double check it anyhow. Correct, but you still have this, so you have to double check it anyhow. You don't just double check the things that you got an X on. You also just check the things where you drew this on, where you weren't 100% sure. And then you take it to the next level. And you can tell this is the wrong answer, this is the wrong answer, this is the right answer, but why is this the wrong answer? Study this further. Ask your teacher. That is how you reach that perfect score. You analyze every option and every nearly 100% opinion you have. And that is how you push past getting a 34 on the ACT to getting a 36 on the ACT. That's how you push from getting a 790 to an 800, right? Okay. That's it. That's all the advice I got for you. Any other questions?
Should people take USABO multiple times?
Usually my second year students will just come back for the prep class at the end, but I am open to the idea of making a second and a third year specific class if there is demand. So if students come to me with some high demand, I'm happy to go above and beyond and figure out a new curriculum and stuff. But so far that hasn't been the demand. All right, thank you guys so much. You have a good one. I hope you meet all your kids later. Bye. I think because people are trying to get rid
Yeah, so you can get some
Okay, so he wants to take the AP class this year?
He's a junior. He didn't get a chance to take that this semester. Senior, which is too late.
No, not too late.
But
The college will still see that he's taking an AP class, even if they don't see his result. They'll see that he's taking an AP class.
but any possible he might have to file.
You should definitely talk to him.
Yeah, but it's any possible like SAT for the fourth time. Then I can still make sure.
Yeah, might be a good idea to take
Yeah,
that.
probably I will be.
Yeah.
Maybe I take some.
No problem. Yes. The honors biology. Spring honors biology. It's a once a week Tuesday night, 7:30 to 9, starting in March. Starting in early March. We're gonna do scientific, we're gonna do experiments. Not everybody. Yes. I've seen people apply to medical school and get in to a good program. So they don't care about your major as long as you're prerequisites, which is biology and chemistry. And I recommend people going to the best programs. Whenever he's ready, whenever he wants to. But how's his reading comprehension? Okay. In July, maybe he wants to take the honors first, see if he likes me. If he has fun, he can come and do something like maybe but if it's too challenging for him, maybe he's maybe he can take honors. I think it's a good idea, but I give them enough time to do it. I give them the basics. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, really take your yes. Later, she feels up to the AP class. Good idea. She wanted to take the med school college. But the problem is, if she takes the test now, then after 2 years, take AP class instead, that would be weird.
Well, yeah, why doesn't she just take the AP class in school and then take it?
And she has a business card. No, or it's in your class.
Well, what we've done is we've given her a really good background. And so when she takes the AP class, she'll have an easy class. She should take the AP when she takes the AP class.
She didn't approach it. She's taking AP class this year and prepare for the junior year.
Yeah, if she's welcome to that class, I think she'll have fun. Yeah.
Correct.
We just want to mention about the because this
My summer bio honor, I prepare. But I don't know how crazy their teacher will be, so I want them to be ready. And I teach them and I want them to be prepared for SAT too. So I'm very
so if you finish your honor, it should be ready for
I think so, yeah. It's not a bit more practice.
in this way. I just a little confused, like what's the